Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Lecture Notes. So today I'll be explaining Chapter 2, Part 2 of the novel Arjun, written by Sunil Gangopadhyay. So here Arjun is describing few houses, the few powerful houses which left early because they had the means to leave, that they had money as well as a place to go. On the other hand, the poor did not have that resources to travel and settle down some other place. So he talks vividly about two family. One is the Banerjee and second is the Datta. So he describes about Banerjee house, how big garden with different variety of fruits was there. All the important ministers and Britishers used to stay there as a guest on special occasions. The very best food which would be procured for them. It was considered a great honor to be invited there, and many of them had accepted the hospitality of the Banerjees. But now a magistrate would summon Ganpati Banerjee to his court and insult him in public. I don't know how much of their land the Banerjees managed to sell, but the house was not disposed of. All the furniture, even the iron gates and doors and windows, was left behind for the talking. So here he shows that how Banerjees they were insulted publicly, and initially they used to invite the most important, powerful guests. But once they were insulted publicly, as a reason they left the house as it is. All the important things like iron gates, which were very expensive, were left there. They moved on to another place because they had the resources to do that. After the Banerjee, it was Datta's turn to leave. The family used to of a quite prosperous grocery store in the main market. They also owned expensive agricultural land. They lived near the canal. One day, me and my brother were fishing. All the fishing made us very tired, so we went over in the Datta house to ask for a drink of water. Someone brought us water in a shining bell metal jug, so clearly showing their wealth. But when the old grandmother noticed it, she told him of very sharply. Apparently, one should never give children water by itself. It is supposed to bring bad luck to the house. So she sent Amladi. Amladi was one of the daughter of that house to us with some coconut sweets. So we started referring to the house among ourselves as the sweet house. Mr. Datta had four daughters, no sons, not even son-in-law. Amaladi had been widowed 2 years after her wedding and had come back to her father's house. So now he'll be describing Amaladi in 3 to 4 pages. I've mentioned 2 to 3 paragraphs in this slide. So if there is a characteristic asked about her, you can write about her in a very detailed way. She had a very quiet and serene nature. Her face was like the still quiet waters of a pond in the afternoon. Nobody had ever heard her voice raised. I still remember there was not a breath of scandal about Amalati. It is fairly easy to spread ugly gossip about a healthy young widow. So वो बताता है कि अमलादी जो थी वो काफी सेरीन काफी अच्छी लेडी थी और वो एक विडो थी बिकॉज दत्ता फैमिली में 4 डॉटर्स हुई थी. उनके कोई सन भी नहीं था, कोई सन इन लॉ भी नहीं था. तो अमलादी एक ऐसी वूमन थी जो हमें एज अ मदरली फिगर की तरह ट्रीट्स देती थी, कुछ मीठा खाने के लिए देती थी हमेशा पानी के साथ. सो ही इज डिस्क्राइबिंग कि वो 22-23 ईयर्स की थी, बट वो जो टेंडरनेस थी वो एज अ मदरली थी. When we saw Amalati, she was only 22 or 23, but she never behaved with us like an elder sister. She was more like a mother. And yes, she had been widowed at 20, so her promise of maternity was doomed to remain unfulfilled. That was why she always made a point of feeding little boys in the village. Whenever she saw them while we ate, she would look at us as deep, lingering tenderness. Efforts were being made at the time to find a husband for the next sister, Kamalat. In those days, it was becoming increasingly difficult to find eligible bridegroom for Hindu girls in Pakistan. So second चीज जो वो फेस कर रहे थे कि पार्टीशन से पहले और पार्टीशन के बाद भी इतना आसान नहीं था कि पाकिस्तान में रहते हुए किसी हिंदू फैमिली को अप्रोच किया जाए फॉर मैरिज पर्पस. नाउ ही इज डिस्क्राइबिंग अ प्लेस, एक जूट फील्ड थी जहाँ पे इतनी बड़े बड़े खेत थे कि कोई भी बच्चा आसानी से छुप सकता है. बच्चों के अलावा भी अगर 3-4 मैन वहां जाके बैठ जाए तो किसी को पता भी नहीं लगेगा कि वहां कोई बैठा भी हुआ है. The jute fields stretch over several miles. The plants as high as a man. some even higher. I have never seen such jute fields anywhere in West Bengal. We boys used to play quite often in those wide green fields of jute. Not only was it easy for us children to hide there, but even grown men could disappear from sight if they sat down among the jute plants. So अब एक बहुत tragedy होती है, and he describes that tragedy. It was one it was in one of those fields that a group of boys discovered Amalati's body. I wasn't there with them, but my brother was. His throat had been cut. Her throat had been cut. There were innumerable stab wounds all over her body and not a shred of clothing on her. After ravishing her, they could not be content with just killing her. They had wanted to hack her into pieces. So clearly, the with what kind of brutality she died. She was not only raped or murdered, her throat was slit. There was numerous stabs, which shows the hatred between the two religions, basically. And it had a deep impact on Arjun's brother, Somnath. My brother came running home from the jute fields and passed out as soon as he set foot in the courtyard. That was when he started having those occasionally fainting spells. Occasionally fainting spells here क्योंकि उसने इतना वर्स्ट देख लिया पार्टीशन का कि अब वो रियलिटी में आ ही नहीं पा रहा था. उसका पास्ट का बैगेज इतना स्ट्रांग हो चुका था अर्जुन के ब्रदर का कि उसको एपिसोड्स आते थे और लोग उसे अब नॉर्मल की तरह देखते थे क्योंकि वो ये नहीं कर पा रहा था कि पार्टीशन हो चुका है. वो ये प्रोसेस ही नहीं कर पा रहा था कि पार्टीशन हो चुका है और अब हमें इधर ही रहना है. He still felt कि everything will be normal one day. This was the first brutal incident that was stuck in his mind and he would not able to get over it. Mr. Datta took his wife and daughters away with him, but his parents, the old grandmother and grandfather, stayed on. The old people wanted to die in their ancestral home. So ये चीज होती है about old people that they don't want to move on because their uh, grandfather, forefathers had been living in that particular place. उनको लगता है यही हमारी असली चीज है and इस age में we cannot settle somewhere else. Already कुछ ही साल बचे, whether it can be 2 months or 2 years of their life, so they did not want to travel and settle to a new place. And so went. One by one, the Sarkars, the Mitras, the rest, all left the village, like pawns being removed from the chessboard. But we were very poor, we had no other place to go. Like pawns being removed from chessboard, कि एक एक करके सब निकलते जा रहे थे. बट पुअर पीपल के पास ये ऑप्शन नहीं होता कि कहीं और जाके सेटल कर दे जब तक उनके ऊपर वो वर्ड्स ना आ जाए कि हमें कोई मार देगा, हमें जाना ही पड़ेगा. My father still believed that India and Pakistan would become one again, and all those who had left the village would return, and everything would be splendidly complete again. So, father, like his brother, similar was his father. उन दोनों को लगता था कि इंडिया और पाकिस्तान एक हो जाएगा, and things will be normal again. This is the similar trait shared by Arjun's father and Arjun's brother. When the first wave of the exodus took place, exodus referring to the rise, many of the elder Muslim in the village came to us and expressed their regrets. Some of them we called brother or uncle. They would say, "Why do you all have to leave?" तो कह रहे थे कि हाँ बाहर के गांव में हो रहा है, आसपास के गांव में ऐसी चीजें हो रही है कि मुस्लिम हिंदू को मार रहे हैं, हिंदू मुस्लिम को मार रहे हैं, बट वी आर योर ब्रदर्स एंड अंकल्स और ऐसा कुछ नहीं होने वाला, सो यू डोंट हैव टू लीव. There was a creeping awareness of fear among us, as if we were criminals of some sort. If we received injustice, we accepted it without accepting anything. Our position was like that of a servant suspected of theft. Even if he is innocent, he has no way of asserting that. He had to submit to being beaten up and often has to lose his job. तो यहाँ पे एज अ मेटाफर वो कंपेयर करता है अपने आप को एक सर्वेंट से कि जो हिंदू रह रहे हैं पाकिस्तान में उस टाइम पे वो ऐसा लगता था कि एक सर्वेंट है, उनके साथ कुछ भी बुरा हो गया वो कुछ कह नहीं सकता. उसे थेफ्ट के लिए बोल उसके ऊपर कोई भी इल्जाम लगा दो, वो अपने लिए वॉइस रेज नहीं कर सकता क्योंकि उसको ये लगता है कि इन एनी केस मुझे गलत करके कुछ गलत हो सकता है मेरे साथ. सो ही सेज दैट आवर हैंड्स आर टाइड, वी कैन नॉट रेज आवर वॉइस अगेंस्ट इनजस्टिस. When my father died, I did not have to shave my head as is he as it was the usual custom. In fact, we were unable to carry out the proper rituals for him. On the 8th day after his death, our house caught fire. So in this slide, I've mentioned the trauma that how his father died and how they were not able to do the proper burial rites, basically. So in Hindu culture, usually there are 13 days of mourning period. 13 days में कोई घर से बाहर नहीं निकलता यूजुअली, एंड लोग आते हैं मिलने के लिए. बट यहाँ पे वो कह रहा है कि हम ऐसा कुछ नहीं कर पाए थे क्योंकि 8 डे पे ही हमारा घर जल चुका था और हमें वहां से बाहर निकलना पड़ गया. After cremating your father, you are supposed to break a pot and walk away from the cremation ground without looking back. We too were leaving our cremation ground behind, never to look back again. So he's saying it was as if not only our father died, it was like we are also dead for these people. हम भी उस cremation ground को छोड़ के जा रहे थे कि अब कभी भी दोबारा नहीं देख पाएंगे. At one time, this used to be the site where the goddess Kali was worshipped. Wandering gypsies came and pitched their tents here. During the day, we could come here quite often to play, but at night, the place gave us the shivers. So it's telling that how the good memories were changing. Basically, कोई भी जैसे अच्छा बैनर्जी का घर था, वो 3-4 फैमिलीज ने एक्वायर कर लिया था, उसकी जगह वही थी पर वो दिखता अब डिफरेंटली था. सिमिलरली जहाँ पे गॉडेस काली की पूजा होती थी, वहां पे अलग अलग छोटे छोटे टेंट्स लग चुके थे फॉर द रिफ्यूजी पीपल. So things were changing around him. The place was not same anymore. The people were not same anymore. And this gave the Hindu families basically a shiver in their spine. Ki now nothing is normal. Everything is changing. And now they need to find their place in the new area. Without the benefit of priests and prayers, we just sat on the river bank and made our offerings of soaked, dried, and spiritual our dead father. There was no time to shave our heads. The unbleached clothes we had put on to mark the period of mourning was not discarded either. As for eating fish or meat, that came ages later. There is no point in dwelling one subsequent detail. This is not a travelogue. Such experience of horror and sadness are better left untold. So he's telling that ये कोई अच्छा ट्रैवलॉग नहीं है कि मैंने ये ट्रैवल किया, मैंने ये डिस्कवर किया, वहां पे ये चीजें अच्छी दिखती थी जब मैं पाकिस्तान से इंडिया आया. ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. It was something that I would not like to live again and not like to share because this is not a happy story. He says such experience of horror and sadness are better left untold. So वो बहुत ही शॉर्ट डिटेल में बताता है कि कैसे उसने ट्रैवल किया फ्रॉम पाकिस्तान टू इंडिया बिकॉज दिस इज सच अ हैवी मेमोरी, हैवी बिटर सैड मेमोरी कि he doesn't want to relive it again while telling. They left their village early in the morning, hoping they won't have to face anyone from village. But they encountered headmaster who said, Arjun, your exams are next month. Kindly wait till then. He further added, I myself shall write to the district board and get funds sanctioned to rebuild your house. But Arjun could not utter a word and moved on. सो यहाँ पे ये चीज होती है कि अर्जुन के एग्जाम्स होते हैं नेक्स्ट मंथ और मॉर्निंग में वो निकल रहे होते हैं कि हाँ हमें कोई नहीं देखेगा, हम आसानी से निकल जाएंगे. बट हेडमास्टर देख के कहते हैं अर्जुन तुम्हारे एटलीस्ट यू शुड वेट फॉर 1 month एंड आई विल गिव यू माई फुल सपोर्ट. आई आस्क द बोर्ड टू गिव फंड्स सो दैट यू कैन रीबिल्ड योर हाउस. But Arjun, he knew very precisely that he cannot stay there, and it is now not a place where he could stay at least peacefully and happily. So now he's telling how they traveled from Pakistan to India. The steamer brought us to Kulana. There also we encountered masses of people. It was impossible to get onto a train for 3 days. Many people reached the limits of their patience here and started fighting and jostling among themselves. So यहाँ पे वो बताता है कि 3 दिन तक वो ट्रेन में ही थे और ना ट्रेन से चढ़ना आसान था ना ट्रेन मिलना आसान था. तो काफी लोगों ने ये सोचा कि ट्रेन तो मिल नहीं रही है, लेट्स स्टार्ट वॉकिंग. बट द थिंग अबाउट वॉकिंग इज दे वर डायरेक्शनलेस. मैप था नहीं, कंपास से पहुंच सकते नहीं. सो दे वर जस्ट वॉकिंग एंड दे डिड नॉट हैव एनी आइडिया वेयर दे वर गोइंग. देयर वाज ओनली अ होप कि हाँ किसी तरह से चलते 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 लोगों से बच जाएंगे. यहाँ एटलीस्ट ये पता है कि ये सेफ नहीं है, क्या सेफ है वो ढूंढ लेंगे. Then they waited for days for a train, but they did not come, so they started walking on foot. with masses of people. So here he again and again mentions कि हाँ हमारे साथ लोग थे. There were masses of people. A lot of people were traveling with them. क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग पाकिस्तान से हिंदुस्तान और हिंदुस्तान से पाकिस्तान जा रहे थे. But still they were alone and they were very much scared. Not that we feared being robbed, we had nothing much to lose except our lives. But our mother was watching out for us with the sharp, protective look of a mother bird. No, the danger came from the different quarter. Two men appeared one day and showed us a great deal of sympathy. They wanted us to come with them and promised to shelter us. And we did not doubt the kindness either. But my mother was only 34 at that point of time. Her health was still good, her complexion beautiful, fair. The people in our village used to say, the Ray Chaudhary bride is just like an image of goddess Lakshmi. How were we to know that this is the possession sufficient of warrant robbery? तो स्टार्टिंग में उनको लगता था कि मतलब उनको स्टोरीज आती थी किसी का ये चोरी हो गया किसी का वो चोरी हो गया क्योंकि वाइल्ड ट्रैवलिंग सबने अपनी सबसे कीमती चीज उठाई ली थी कि वहां जाके इससे हम लैंड या खाना खरीद सकते हैं. पर इनको थोड़ा कम डर लग रहा था क्योंकि इनके पास कोई प्राइस पोजेशन था ही बचा ही नहीं था. कोई गोल्ड सिल्वर डायमंड कुछ नहीं था. पर उन्हें बाद में पता लगा कि उनकी मदर जो काफी ब्यूटीफुल हैं और इस टाइम 34 ईयर्स के हैं वो भी एक उनकी प्राइस पोसेशन है बिकॉज देवर मेनी पीपल हु वर रेडी टू रेप. सो दिस वाज they wanted to protect their price possession, that was their mother. That was the first time I was doing something like that. Now he tells कि अब वो धीरे धीरे जब ट्रैवल कर रहे थे there was no money so he started begging. There were no jobs and he could not ask anyone for any favor. This was the first time I was doing something like this. Yet the art of begging came naturally to me. I would wander from door to door asking for alms in a piteous wailing monotone. So this happened that the middle class people turned into so much poverty that they had to beg. We finally reached Bongo after crossing the border of Haridaspur. Everyone was overwhelmed with joy. We were safe at last. Nobody could come hunting for us again. What a marvelous sense of shelter and security. I don't know why, but we thought that soon as we crossed the border, wailing arms would open a wide for us. We would be welcomed as brothers. Members of different families would come forward and claim us as their guest. तो उसको लगता है जैसे ही हम इंडिया आएंगे लोग हमें वेलकम करेंगे हमें खाने को देंगे और अपने अपने घर बुलाएंगे. क्योंकि जैसे विलेज में कोई नया इंसान आता है सब उसे वेलकम करते हैं डिनर पे बुलाते हैं. पर ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. कोई उनको वेलकम करने के लिए नहीं था. कोई ने कोई फेवर देने के लिए नहीं था. Then one day came a man named Brij Thakur and said, तो जब वो अपने छोटे 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 टेंट्स जहाँ रेफ्यूजीज के थे वहां पे रह रहे थे तो एक ब्रिज ठाकुर नाम का एक इंसान आया एंड ही सेड कि कब तक ऐसे रहते रहोगे अपने लिए कुछ करना पड़ता है. और आसपास के आप देखोगे तो काफी हाउसेस खाली है क्योंकि हिंदुस्तान से भी काफी मुस्लिम्स ट्रैवल करके गए हैं. तो लेट्स फाइंड अ प्रॉपर प्लेस एंड सेटल डाउन देयर rather than living in these tents where there is no water supply, no electricity supply, and there are a lot of mosquitoes and ants and whatever insects that can bite. So he said, what do you think you are doing? Do you want to just sit and rot here? Are you men or just animals? Have you left your own homes behind only to come and beg here? Don't you have a right to the soil of this country? Do you know what will happen if you just keep on sitting there? The children will scavenge in the streets, the young girls will become woes, and the rest of you beggars. Well, why don't you open your mouths? They shifted them from platforms to few houses. So what he did, he shifted them from platform to few houses and then he disappeared. Then nobody had an idea that where did this bridge Thakur came from and where he is lost now. Later the government tried to proclaim that they did this work कि उन्होंने ये जो अच्छा काम किया है कि slum kind of area tents छोटे छोटे tents हटा के उनको एक proper place दे दी रहने के लिए. So government acclaimed कि हमने किया है. I myself worked as a waiter. Now things have changed only a little bit. Now Arjun was working as a waiter when he was settled in a small proper house. I myself worked as a waiter in a tea shop for first few months. I was paid a monthly salary of 12 rupees, which came to about 25 rupees with tips. Plus, I was given a free meal a day. On the days when I managed to get hold of some leftover meat, I would bring it home and share it with my brother. तो धीरे धीरे चीजें improve हो रही थी. पहले he was living totally on begging. Now he was working, but not according to his merit basis because he was educated. उसको जो जॉब पहली मिली, that being a waiter, वो उससे खुशी खुशी करने लगे कि हाँ at least they will have something to eat. My mother, of course, was entirely against my working. She used to weep bitterly over it. She knew that I had brains, I could do a lot if I was given the chance to study. So उसकी मदर को ये सब चीजें अच्छी नहीं लग रही थी, बट बिकॉज ऑफ पॉवर्टी अर्जुन हैड टू डू इट. एंड उसकी मम्मी को बार बार यही लगता था कि ही डिजर्व्स अ बेटर जॉब एज वेल एज एजुकेशन, एंड ही इज नॉट मेंट टू डू such petty things. So thank you for watching this video. In the next video